following breaking news right now at 6 at Lake Hood, where a plane crashed this afternoon. We sent a crew to the scene immediately to gather information. Joe Allgood joins us live with what we know at this time. Let's get to Joe Allgood there. Joe, what are you seeing now and what can you tell us?
Yeah, take a look at some of the damage that this crash left behind. There's a clear dent in the roof up top there, and then a pretty big chunk taken out of the side of this building. And we've got some images of what it looked like right after the crash that we'll show you now. The Cessna aircraft that you can see here on the screen crashed around 2:30 in the afternoon, according to a statement from Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport. 2 people were on board the plane, and the airport fire crews came and responded to the scene along with emergency medical personnel who responded and treated the 2 passengers for their injuries. One of them was transported to the hospital. The NTSB got the call that the plane had lost power when it took off from the runway at Lake Hood Seaplane Base and crashed shortly after. They came to investigate the scene. Once they had gotten their initial findings and looked over the crash and anything that they could see at the site, they took the plane, loaded it onto a trailer, and then transported it to a nearby hangar for a further investigation, and we talked to them.
We'll look over the maintenance records and the pilot records and again get another statement from the pilot and any witnesses, look over the surveillance video, and then importantly look over the engine and see if we can find any evidence that might have contributed.
Once again, there were no fatalities in this crash, just those 2 people on board that were slightly injured. And as you can see, the scene has pretty much cleared up. It's back to normal here at Lake Hood Seaplane Base. Back to you.
Again, that was our Joe Allgood. Joe, thanks for your reporting. We'll continue to keep an eye on what happened with that crash. But now it's a wet and windy Wednesday. On this first alert weather day, we're taking a live look outside where we're keeping an eye on downpours and potential flooding. And we've got our Jackie Purcell tracking these storms for us right now. Jackie, joining us with an update on the timing and severity.
Well, so far the winds have not picked up in the Anchorage area, and we are looking at a first alert weather day for this situation that is spreading across the south central region as we speak. Let's check out those first alert facts across the area. Wind and rain will pick up late tonight with this next storm, the third to affect us this week. Strong winds will hit the hillside, especially 50 to 65 mile per hour gusts starting overnight going into midday on Thursday, with wind advisories also extending down to the western side of the Kenai Peninsula. So these are some of the things that folks need to be aware of in Anchorage, Eagle River, the hillside of Anchorage, with southeast winds 25 to 40 miles per hour in the bowl, but gusts on the higher elevations that could get up to 50 to 65 miles per hour. And as far as the western Kenai Peninsula, you'll see those wind gusts between 35 to 50 miles per hour, and along Cook Inlet in those waters, it could be treacherous with 8 to 12-foot seas. And the Anchorage area, we are just so close to topping out that wettest July ever. And with 0.62 of an inch of rain, I think we're going to make it because we only need 0.16 of an inch of rain to come. So we've had 4.3 when normally you don't even get 2 inches through the month of July. So right now we're in 5th place, but with the rain coming in tonight, lasting into early Friday, we will be seeing that figure change as well. Let's talk about the forecast. A wind advisory, as I mentioned, for the Anchorage area with flooding concerns to the valley just to our north. I'll go over all of this again coming up a little bit later. Ariane?
This is a public decision that's been made, Director. Why aren't you answering these questions?
That's the moment our political reporter Will Courtney tried to get answers out of Elections Director Carol Beecher. We've got Will standing by in studio now. Will, catch us up to speed. What led up to that moment?
Yeah, well, Augusta, I've been trying to learn how this Petersburg Dan J. Sullivan, that's the Petersburg teacher, doesn't have a party on the ballot. Now, we asked the director that question in person today, and up until this point, the division has blocked our questions and delayed our records requests. And today, they tried to cover our cameras. Here's that moment. Director Beecher, we have a couple questions about today's proceedings. Why not? Why not, Steve? This is a public decision that's been made. We have questions about how we ultimately got to this place. So why is Dan J. Sullivan not on the ballot? Why is this party not on the ballot, Director?
He is on the ballot.
Well, why is this party not on the ballot? That's what we're trying to ask. And why is Steve putting a hand on our camera? Why is that happening right now? This is a public decision that's been made, Director. Why aren't you answering these questions?
So two questions, Will. The questions that you were asking weren't answered. One, I'm curious, did she say anything else at the hearing? And also, let's hear who Steve Kircher is, because he's who you're primarily having an interaction with
So
here.
Steve Kirch is the Elections Division spokesperson, and we've tried to reach out to him. He has hung up on me in the past when I've tried to get these questions answered. But to answer your question about what she was saying, the closest we got was essentially that she said the decision was close to getting this term maximize differentiation. That's what she was saying, maximize differentiation, and that's how we got to this decision. Noticeably absent today, the Lieutenant Governor, that's Nancy Dahlstrom, who was supposed to be there. But what is certain today, Augusta, is I can tell you this. We're not going to stop asking this question. We had a public decision that's been made, and no amount of hands in front of our cameras is going to stop us from getting these answers.
All right, thanks so much for your reporting, Will. We've got more on our website and our app. Again, full report tonight on the late edition as well. Our Will Courtney reporting on the Elections Division. And now Anchorage Police have identified the two men found who died after being shot in the 8000 block of East 5th Avenue early Monday morning. Investigators say they were 47-year-old Spencer King, 19-year-old Tawan Jamestown. Police say they responded just after 1 a.m. and found the men with gunshot wounds. They were pronounced dead at the scene. The deaths are said to be an isolated incident. Now, a big story in the court system. The U.S. Supreme Court is taking up an Alaska case that could set new limits on when the government can seize someone's property as punishment. As Johnson Kuhn reports, it centers on a Bush pilot's plane and an Anchorage attorney who says the ruling could reach far beyond Alaska.
The case involves longtime pilot Ken Jope and his 1969 Cessna. Alaska wants to forfeit the plane after a jury convicted him of a misdemeanor tied to alcohol found on a flight he was preparing to make to the dry village of Beaver.
There are actually a couple of things that they're looking at.
Anchorage attorney James Croson says the Supreme Court is focusing on whether the punishment went too far.
And this case really surrounds the excessive fine portion of the Eighth Amendment.
Croson says one issue is how courts measure harm, whether they look at this specific incident or the broader damage alcohol can cause in dry communities.
Other states use a concrete analysis, and they look at the individual offense.
Jope has insisted he didn't see the beer before troopers searched the plane, but the jury decided he should have known.
And there was one six-pack in a shopping bag that I just did not see.
Croson also says Alaska law treats aircraft differently than cars or boats, making plane forfeiture mandatory in these cases.
Back when the forfeiture law was first enacted, it applied to boats and cars and airplanes and anything that you would use to convey and to bring alcohol to a dry village. Later on, the legislature carved out cars and boats.
The Supreme Court is expected to hear arguments in the coming term with a decision possible by mid-2027. Johnson Kuhn, Alaska's news source.
Operation Homefront is easing the burden of back-to-school shopping for military families this month. Georgina Fernandez shows us how in this week's Northern Front.
Hello, ladies. What color you want?
It's a small choice.
This one? Let me open it up for you.
Part of a bigger purpose.
And then you can get some more item over there, okay?
Making military families strong and stable.
Thank you.
That was the mission this month.
Hi, how are you guys doing today?
As Operation Homefront passed out dozens of back-to-school supplies to 200 junior enlisted military children.
So we try to just take off that financial burden off of the parents this year, and that way they get started on the right foot to go to school.
Getting these kids ready to put their best foot forward.
Are you excited for kindergarten?
Heading into a new school year.
So we just want to make sure that they're set up for success and that way they're not just struggling. They do so much for our country, and we want to make sure that they're good.
According to the National Retail Federation, the average family will spend around $860 on back-to-school supplies this year. That's a hefty price tag, especially for junior enlisted families, a struggle that Brianna Carpenter has seen firsthand as a former military child herself.
I saw my mom, we were in Japan, and my dad was deployed, and she was still trying to make the best she could.
The event also helps beat the rush. As NRF reports, more than 50% of shoppers have already begun back-to-school shopping.
It makes it easier to get school supplies when we get the list from the schools on what to get. The stores are kind of like drained out of all supplies, so this is really good for families.
Giving households some breathing room.
It just makes my heart so happy to be able to give back.
Setting them prepared with good wishes.
Thank you so much. Enjoy school, okay?
Georgina Fernandez, Alaska's news source.
Thanks for listening. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcast from Alaska's news source automatically. And stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.